Really? Again? I don't know about you, but I'm getting a little tired of all these couples breaking up towards the end of the book. I get that there needs to be some kind of conflict towards the end, some kind of breaking point for the couple, but there are other options for that. However, as a romance author myself, I totally get why third act breakups are so common. From a writer's viewpoint, it's the easiest way to have that big moment of conflict towards the end. It's something that adds a little tension, a little drama, a little heartbreak. But since the reader knows there's a happy ending coming, it doesn't really have as high of a stake as it would in a not romance novel, for example. So that kind of trope is not so bad for readers like me who get really stressed out by any kind of conflict in the book. Knowing that it's going to be resolved makes it not so bad. When I first started reading romance novels about 2 or 3 years ago, I was under the assumption that breaking up was a requirement. I read so many books where they broke up that I just assumed that's how romance novels worked. And if there was a book where the couple didn't break up before they had a happy ending, it just wasn't really a romance book. And this is fine. You know, a lot of people like third act breakups. I'm okay with them as long as they make sense. I've read a few books where the third act breakup felt more like the author crossing something off of a checklist than something that really worked with the story and the character's relationship. So that's a little problematic to me. And it wasn't even really until I started reading dark romance that I realized not all romance books have third act breakups in them. There are other things that can cause conflict in a couple, just like in real life. You fight with your partner. Doesn't necessarily mean things are about to end. Conflict is just part of a relationship, any relationship, romantic or otherwise. So, I really hate the phrase, there's more than one way to skin a cat, because I love cats. But that is true. There is more than one way to add conflict to the plot of a romance novel. That being said, let's talk about some books where the third act breakup works and some where it doesn't. Fair warning, there will be spoilers ahead. So, if you don't want that, go away. Okay, so, books where it works. Priest by Sierra Simone. Knowing the plot of this book, you kind of know that a breakup is going to happen. We have a priest in a relationship, a Catholic priest. That's not exactly allowed. So going into it, you kind of expect it. So it makes sense. It works for this book. Next, we have one of my books, Self-Promotion. And there is a third act breakup. It makes sense. I don't want to say too much. Don't want to spoil things. But basically, Heath does something, and when Isabella finds out, you really don't blame her for the breakup. It makes sense. It is plot relevant. It makes sense. It works. So that is okay. Not just because I wrote it, but it makes sense for the plot. Twisted Hate, a popular book. There's a breakup. Pretty good reason, mostly. It's a really powerful scene in and of itself. Oddly enough, I think the breakup scene is one of my favorites in this book, which is odd because I don't normally like breakup scenes. But for the most part, it makes sense, which is not the same that I can say for other Anna Wong books. So let's let's talk about where it doesn't work. I am convinced that Anna Wong is the queen of third act breakups. I haven't read every one of her books, but I've read a lot of them. And I think with the exception of one, they all have a breakup. So, this one to me was where it was the most unwarranted. I am going to spoil this book because I am not a fan of this book. So if you liked this or want to read it, skip ahead like a minute. So, she breaks up with him for no reason. Everything is great. Their relationship is great. They're in love. I think they've just confessed their love for each other. It's beautiful. And then she just wakes up one day and goes, I just don't think I'm good enough for him. Even though there's been nothing he said or done to make me think that. We both come from similar backgrounds. But I just don't think I'm worthy of him anymore. And then she breaks up with him. She's crying, he's confused, I'm crying and confused. Completely unnecessary. This was very much she was working on a checklist, got to the third act breakup box and was like, oh yeah, let me just sprinkle that in there real quick, even though it makes no sense for the plot, and comes out of nowhere. So, not a fan of the third act breakup in this book. Disagree if you want, that is my opinion. So, carrying on with the Anna Wong theme. Twisted Lies. Oh goodness, I was so looking forward to this book. It's built up throughout the whole Twisted series. And when they have their breakup, to me, it did not feel warranted. I've posted about this on TikTok and people were like, well, it makes sense because blah, blah, blah. But okay, so spoiler. So go away. She is a social media influencer. Her entire life is on the internet. That is her job, basically, okay? She finds out that he has kind of been, not kind of stalking, but he has research and stuff on her and her life and her likes and dislikes and whatnot. And so she finds this information and freaks out. She's like, I can't handle you knowing things about me and my life. No one should have this information. And how dare you invade my privacy? And so she breaks up with him. Her life is literally on the internet. So it felt a little bit hypocritical to get mad at him for knowing things that someone could probably Google about her life. So there's that. Okay. Thirdly, I don't have my physical copy of The Deal here, so picture. The Deal by Elle Kennedy. There's a third act breakup in there. And for the life of me, I don't know why it was in there, but it was. And I haven't read other Elle Kennedy books, but I get the feeling that she's like Anna Wong in that the third act breakup is there because it's an expected trope for a lot of readers. So, yeah, they break up and it's like, oh, all right, well, that happened. So, anyway. Those are 3 for each. 3 where I thought it didn't work. 3 where I thought it did work. So, my question to you is, well, actually, I have many questions for you. Do you like third act breakups? Do you not really care one way or the other about them? Are there books where you're like, oh yeah, that definitely works for that plot? Or are there books where you're like me and you're like, that's literally just in there to be a checkbox? Like there's no reason other than that why this should be part of the story. All thoughts and comments are welcome. If you like this video, subscribe for more, and happy reading.